everyone, again, this is Mr. E, and today is my second video on my journey to teaching concept-based mathematics. If you saw the first video, you know that I introduced the idea of what is concept-based math. My goal in this video is to start the unit planning process, where I introduce the first 3 steps of my process. And I have a total of 3 videos where I want to help you start to create your unit plan. So in this video, we'll cover my process in general, and we'll cover the first 3 steps of this process and come up with the conceptual lens. So real quickly, what's the process? Well, step 1, identify your standards. 2, generate big ideas behind those standards. 3, come up with some real world examples. 4, generalizations. And step 5, come up with a guide for your teaching and learning, a statement of inquiry if you're MYP, and objectives. Big idea, real world examples, generalizations, statement of inquiry. All right, so that's the overall process. So let's go through the first 3. What are your standards? This is the easiest part, where you're going to use whatever your curriculum calls for. But what I want to show you is just to be organized. If you saw video 1, I used a double bubble map, a thinking map. But what are thinking maps? Thinking maps are consistent visual patterns linked to 8 specific thought processes. Again, I used double bubble map in the first video to compare and contrast. In this video, I use a circle map to define and brainstorm. So let's define and brainstorm our standards. Went to Common Core, achieve the core, and went to moe.gov in Singapore to get those standards for congruence and similarity. Quick tip on circle maps: the outside of the circle but inside the rectangle is where you keep your sources of information. All right, so those are the standards. Now, what are the big ideas, or what is the big idea behind the standards? Well, in this case, I used a different source, National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. They run a series. And I came up with some potential big ideas. But what really grabbed me was this idea of invariance, something that does not change while something else does. Also, thought it was a pretty good idea for a unit title. How can something change, yet something remain the same? So we're back to our unit web, and let's plug that in. Our unit title now is How Can Something Change, Yet Remain the Same? Hopefully it's catchy enough to grab our students' attention. Now let's go on to the real world context. Why is this stuff useful? Why is, or when is, invariance useful? One idea I came up with was tessellation in art. Why is that transfer? Because we want our students to be able to use this not only in math class, but outside of math class. So we take a shape, cut it, make another shape, put them together, and we slide them around. We change the position, same orientation. We can use architecture, make nice buildings. And we can use it in art or to make products. So to answer our question, why does invariance matter? Well, one example is repeatedly moving the same forms are useful for creativity, perspective, generating patterns, aesthetics, etc. Here's a resource on Desmos I'll share with you. Now, in case some of you are familiar with MYP, you'll notice that I've kind of tapped into some of my concepts and explorations already. Some key concepts could be form, perspective, aesthetics. According to IBL, you only need 1. Related concepts, creativity, patterns, equivalent, only need 2. And I have some potential explorations. But stick with me till video 3, and we'll put all that together. All right, one last point. So we need a conceptual lens. Through what concept or big concept are we going to kind of look through this entire unit? Well, I figure since we're talking about moving things that are the same, maybe a good conceptual lens would be models of motion and equivalence. But we also have similarity. So maybe we're doing some scaling. Just some ideas I'm throwing out there. And we'll figure this out by the time we get to our statement of inquiry or objective. All right, I think that's it. So just a quick reminder of some of the free resources, Desmos, and Achieve the Core, where you can get your standards, or Common Core standards anyway. And an investment you might want to make is look into the NCTM series on essential understandings. Some great documents, both in book form, printed, as well as PDFs. All right, that wraps it up. So again, went through the first 3 steps of my 5-step process. We're going to go through generalizations in the next video, and then in the final of 4 videos, we'll go through the statement of inquiry and objective, as well as we'll kind of finalize the first parts of our unit plans or unit web. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.